So with this being the first video that I'm doing, I'll give a really brief introduction about who I am, why I'm doing the videos, and then the content today is going to be one of the biggest mistakes that I see strength athletes make, and also just a brief overview of what might be limiting your strength training performance and what to kind of focus on in your training. So I first started competing in powerlifting about 21 years ago. I competed raw, then I competed equipped, then I competed raw again. I've took world records, national records, and have had the opportunity to train with some really top lifters. So I was in Leeds for a few years with Andy Bolton in the team. I've gone around the country a little bit training with different people. I've had a lot of talk. I've discussed training with a lot of different people. And my main point here is I've had a lot of free advice and really good advice as well. And I feel like I'm now in the position to give other people good advice, hence why I'm going to do these videos. Coaching wise, I've been online coaching for about 12 years. I've been full-time coaching for 4 years or so. So I do online coaching and one-to-one coaching. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that powerlifters make and strength athletes in general make is in regards to hypertrophy focused movements. So when you're doing an exercise in your training, why are you doing the exercise? That's what you've got to ask yourself before you go into the sets. If you're doing a set of push downs, the goal isn't to move as much weight from A to B as possible. The goal is to hit your triceps as hard as possible, put enough stress through them to get hypertrophy stimulus, build more muscle through your triceps, which is going to help your pressing strength. So what I see a lot of people doing who are strength athletes, they're so focused on lifting as much weight as possible from A to B that they kind of miss the point of doing the exercise. And they don't, so they're using weights that's too heavy. They aren't applying as much stress on the muscle, and they're just beating the joints up more than they have to. So when you're going into an exercise, if you've got a coach, you can ask the coach, or if you're doing your own programming, you should know exactly why you're doing an exercise. If it's a hypertrophy focused movement, make sure that you're training it with a kind of bodybuilding mentality. You're trying to load the muscle and then worry about gradually progressing the strength on the exercise. It sounds like a small issue, but it's not. I see it time and time again, and it can make a significant difference to your training. Building muscle is very important. The more muscle that you have, the more potential you have to apply force. So the other question is, what is limiting your strength training performance? When a new client comes to me, I look at a few different areas about where are they strong, where their strengths, where their weaknesses. Now, as far as strength training goes, I'll use powerlifting as the main example, because I work with a lot of powerlifters. I'll look through a few different areas: skill, muscle hypertrophy, body composition, psychology. So skill is the ability to lift a 1 rep max weight. People get a little bit confused, I think. Now, skill isn't just being able to squat proficiently. Skill is being able to, in this example, squat proficiently at heavy weights for single reps, because that's what you're doing in competition. If you've been doing a program where you've got a lot of AMRAP sets at lower intensities, so you're doing 70-75% of your 1 rep max for as many as you can, and that's kind of the peak of your cycle, you're going to get very, very good at lifting lighter weights for higher reps. But once you get a higher weight or heavier weight on the bar, if you're not used to it, a lot of the time it's just going to fall apart. And I see it, again, it's something that I see a lot. So skill wise, the way you train skill would be to lift heavy weights for singles and doubles often. To do this often, you're going to have to make sure that you're not balls out failure, especially on squats and deadlifts and harder, like the more taxing exercises. On bench, you can generally push closer to failure on most exercises. Now, how do you know if you've got a deficit in skill? And that's an area that you need to work on. A good marker of this, in my opinion, is if your second rep of the set always feels better than the first rep. So you really want your first rep to feel the best, because obviously you're doing 1 rep in competition, again, in regards to powerlifting. So if your second rep feels better than your first, it's because you're using that first rep, you're getting the feedback from it, right, I'm not in the right position, but now I can get in the right position because I know what's the wrong position, when really you want to be making sure that you're nailing that first rep. Another way that you could probably tell is if you're very good at lifting lighter weights, say you're 80%, 85%, if you can use 85% and hit a set of 12, It could be down to muscle fibre typing and things like that, but it's probably due to spending a lot of time at that kind of weight trying to hit a lot of reps. And a lot of the time you'll get to you're on 1 rep max, it'll feel awkward, it'll feel heavy, your form will break down, just because you're not used to heavy singles. So if you've got that kind of situation where you're very good at reps, or your second rep's always a lot better than your first, then skill is an area that I'd really work on. To work on skill, there's so many ways you can do it. Ideally, in my opinion, you want to be above 80% load. So you don't want to work technique at lighter than 80%. More advanced individuals can work it a little bit lighter, but if you're an intermediate lifter, 80% or more really, and you want to make sure that your form is not breaking down, so you're not going to do high reps, you want to do a lot of first reps. So I like, say, deadlifts, cluster sets, squats and bench press, singles and doubles, and usually 1 or 2 reps in the tank. So get a lot of those kind of sets in, and your skill will improve and your maximal strength will improve. Muscle hypertrophy. The more muscle that you have, the more potential you have to produce force, because you've got more contractile tissue, so stronger contraction. If you're lacking muscle, which you can probably know, you can have a look at people in your kind of weight class. How tall are you and how much muscle do you have compared to those? Or how much bodybuilding type training have you done in the past? If you're very skilled and you're very good at lifting a max weight, but you don't carry a lot of muscle tissue, then you might not have so much scope to build skill. So the focus may be primarily towards, right, I'm going to try and build more muscle, which is going to help me lift more weight. Now, with the way I set training up, you're never going to go, or it's very rare that I'd set a complete hypertrophy focus block up. It's going to be a mixture of skill work and hypertrophy work. It just, which way it leans depends on the individual's where they're at and what their weaknesses are. Now, there is other adaptations that occur in the muscle. So you could be, where it isn't just about how big your muscle is, it's about like the amount of contractile tissue in the muscle, so myofibrillar density, it's your tendon stiffness, it's all these different factors, lateral force transmission. But by training skill, so using heavy weights for low reps, you're going to kind of clean up on all the neural adaptations. So with neural adaptations, you've got reduced antagonist coactivation. So if you're doing a bicep curl, when you're a beginner or intermediate lifter, your triceps are going to be engaged or activated to stabilize the joint. What we do, as you get stronger, as you get more experienced, this lessens, so there'll be less tricep activation because you can use a synergist muscle. So basically what it means is as you get better at doing the lift and you get more experienced at it, you'll get less activation of the opposing muscle group, which will allow you to lift more weight. But again, to train that, we're just training skill, because skill, you're using heavy weight, you're hitting low reps. So it's going to take care of that. It's going to take care of any potential scope to improve rate coding or motor unit recruitment. So skill. Muscle hypertrophy is the same thing. It's going to take care of all the muscular adaptations. The heavy weight is going to take care of the tendon stiffness, etc. as well. So you don't need to focus on all these individual aspects of adaptations to build strength. You can just focus on skill, muscle hypertrophy for the main part. Now, body composition. This is a big one if you're competing a weight class sport. So powerlifting, strongman, any sport that involves a body weight to strength ratio. That's what it's. I know people give it, there's no weight classes in the jungle, etc. But you're not in the jungle, there's no weights in the jungle. You're at a powerlifting competition, you're trying to beat your next competitor. So you want to be as competitive as you can. And that means generally carrying as much muscle mass as you can in that weight class, which means minimizing body fat in that weight class. Everyone's got a different kind of set point where some people will lift best at maybe 15% body fat and they start dropping later than that, or the body fat reduces further than that, and the strength starts to dissipate a little bit and they don't feel strong. Other people can maybe get down to 12% body fat without noticing strength loss. Everyone is a bit different. And one of the big advantages of performance enhancing drugs is it generally allows people to carry less body fat, more muscle in a weight class while still maintaining strength. So that's one of the big reasons that work well for lighter weight competitors. So where was I on that? Body composition. So yeah, if someone's coming to me and they're 25% body fat and they're competing at 100 kilo, there's a very good chance that they'll say, look, let's go down to 90 kilo body weight class. Let's aim for that. And while we're doing it, we can probably gain some strength as well, as long as they're not too advanced. So you'll improve your strength, you'll be down a weight class, your strength to body weight ratio, so on formula, Wilks, Glossenbrenner, whatever, that's going to increase, your performance has increased, all good. Your low body fat, you've got room to, right, we might push on and add some more muscle and go up to the 100 kilo class over time. But you should always be doing something, in my opinion, with body composition. If you're a powerlifter and you're not focused on building muscle or losing body fat, and you're just spinning your wheels on that side of things, the only real adaptation you're going to get is skill adaptations. And if you've been training a while, they're definitely still applicable. There's definitely skill that you can build, but you're kind of shortchanging yourself at the same time, which is why the diet side is very important in strength training. If you're an open weight competitor, it's a little bit different, but still then, you're probably still wanting to try and gain some muscle. And psychology. So I'll look at someone and I say the ability to train hard. And that means different things. It means the ability to grind reps out on a high rep set. But with strength athletes, that's applicable to strongman, definitely. But for powerlifting, it's the mindset going into a 1 rep max lift. So some people are better at doing 1 rep maxes. They can get themselves amped up and just get that extra boost of strength. Other people, they struggle with it, and the weight might defeat them a little bit before they go into it. If you ever go into a weight and you're not 100% confident of getting it, you should not be attempting that weight. Like, obviously, there might be that slight nagging doubt at the back of your mind, but even then there shouldn't be. Like, I'm trying to think of any lifts that I've done. I've never attempted a lift that I thought, I'm not going to get this. I have at a competition. It was the last deadlift. I was knackered and I didn't feel confident of getting it, and I didn't get it. I shouldn't have probably bothered trying it. But generally, never go for a lift, a weight that you can't hit. And you've got to get into the mindset of being able to. So it is a mindset. I'm struggling here with the wording. It is a mindset thing, but it's also a momentum. If your training is going well and you're continuously not failing any weights and you're just getting the weights, you're going into the heavy weights at a competition. I haven't failed a bench in 5 months. I haven't failed a deadlift in a year. You expect fully to get those deadlift attempts and squat attempts, which is very important. And it's all about, as a coach, you want to create that momentum and that mindset going into the lifts, that confidence of being able to hit a 1 rep max weight. Now, some people need a bit of a nudge. So I've had plenty of clients where they'll hit PBs 3 or 4 weeks into the training cycle. Like, they start with me, the PBs 3-4 weeks later. That isn't because I've made them much stronger in 3 or 4 weeks. It's because they've had 3 weeks of training where they've hit all the numbers, and I've set a higher number, which I know they're capable of. They just maybe didn't believe it to start with. Then they hit that. Now they're thinking, I can hit these bigger numbers. Do you know, I'm feeling good, the momentum's up, and we'll carry on doing that. And it just takes it up a notch. So they were already capable of hitting that number 4 weeks ago, but now they've got somebody telling them they can do it, and they're confident because they've been hitting the numbers in the last few weeks. So it builds that momentum up and you get better at it. But the other side is you need to have the ability to switch on for that 1 rep max lift. Everyone's a little bit different in how they approach it. Some people are, I'll find my happy place, I want to be enjoying it. Other people, they'll think about the worst thing in the world that's going to happen if they don't lift the weight, just to get them amped up. It's kind of a whatever works for you scenario. And that's something, it's a skill that's learned. It's not something that you aren't just going to get it straight away, but it's got to be practiced. And it comes back again to the skill acquisition. Like, if you're doing a lot of skill work with heavy weights, you've got to be in the same mindset that you would be to lift a 1 rep max weight. Because if you train and you're at 90% and you know you can get a single and your plan is to get a single, if you don't go into that set really fired up, when you get to a 1 rep max weight and you are fired up, are you able to hold your technique under those conditions? Because if you're too aroused, at some point your technique's going to go down the pan. So you need to improve the ability to lift heavy weights and the same mindset. This can be a little bit taxing, depending, but then you can just adjust your training so it's recoverable. You can recover from the work. That's probably about it for today. If anyone has any questions or wants me to go over anything else, please feel free to let me know. I'm happy to discuss anything. I can get into the more minutiae or overview. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll do this again at some point.